Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me today as we look at my fifth speech pathology appointment that I've had since my modified Wendler's glottoplasty. This speech pathology appointment was 87 days after I had my surgery, and at this point, it's somewhat similar to my speech pathology appointments before surgery in that now I'm working on voice tuning, I'm working on modifying the resonance, and I'm still working on getting used to my new voice as it works now. I can't use it quite in its old way. I can't quite use it. I'm still getting the hang of using it in its new way, and I'm spending a lot of time trying to break old habits because I have a tendency to try to want to trail off into lower tones with larger resonances, which is something I'm trying to avoid. So, I hope this is helpful to you. Hi.
Hey, we did it. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good, good. I wasn't sure if it was the internet on my side or your side, but
Yeah, I don't know.
glad we worked it out in the end. How has the last few weeks been with your
Uh,
voice and life?
yeah, it's been. It seems like it's still inconsistent, and part of that is me, and part of that is just the physical nature of how it's changing. I think.
Mhm.
So, I've been doing some of the practices, and actually, I guess the hard part is getting them all at the right point at the right time and finding something feels right altogether. Like having a smaller mouth, but I can't put the larynx too high, or if I put the larynx too high, and then it's just like it's way too high, I think. So,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
um, I mean, if I'm trying to do somebody else's voice, maybe, but it gets kind of squeaky.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
So, okay.
yeah, and as long as I'm paying somewhat attention to it, it seems to be okay. Um,
And as you're talking now to me, are you like, what level of effort do you feel like you're putting in to maintain the voice that's coming out?
Pretty low.
Okay.
I start to have problems when there's no effort.
Okay. What happens when there's no effort? Does it just drop?
Yeah, then it just goes kind of like back to where it used to be down here.
Uh-huh.
So it's like a little below 150 hertz. I mean, it's not as low as it was, but um, yeah, it's not really where I want it to be,
Yeah.
and
Um,
it's hard to just like. I think it's especially around difficult around people I've known for a long time. Like my parents. Um,
you feel like it's especially hard to maintain or to put in the effort?
just to remember sometimes, like because I'm not really thinking about how I'm presenting to them, then I forget about it.
Uh-huh.
But overall, I mean, I think it's a lot better than it was, and it feels more natural now than it did. I mean, like right there, it's not super high, but it seems like it sounds okay.
No, it
Um,
sounds good. It
yeah,
sounds yeah, definitely better than last time. And like
yeah,
there's less also just like roughness.
right, yeah,
That I think was probably somewhat from the swelling, um, and just readjustment.
yeah. Well, there certainly is a lot of readjustment. It does feel like going through puberty again. Um,
Yeah. Yes. Do you feel like when you're talking to someone new, say like if you were at a store or someone you haven't met before, do you feel like you're more aware or to put
Oh
more
yeah,
effort into your
for
voice?
sure.
Okay.
I'm definitely more aware of how I'm speaking when I'm speaking to a stranger, um, versus, like a friend or a family member.
Hmm.
But even so, I don't think, yeah, it hasn't been too bad, I mean, it's like sometimes it's upper 220, sometimes it's down to 150, but overall, I mean, it seems like it's in a good range.
Hmm.
And, it feels like the big thing to me now is like, now that I've got a comfortable range, just focusing more on the resonance issues. And I have been doing that. I've been doing a fair amount of practice on that.
Okay. And you were saying you're sort of trying to figure out, I kind of think of it as like the recipe, what pieces to add in or take out as far as the high
Right.
larynx or the tongue position. Um, what have you tried that you feel like is giving you good results?
Well, like like where you do the E smile and then it just goes in there. And as long as
Uh-huh.
it's like that, but not excessively, just a little bit
Yeah.
of that. Um, Raise the larynx maybe just a tiny bit, but not a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see, what was the other one? Oh yeah, the thyroid thing. Not so much. Doesn't seem quite right. And well, I was doing like I was reading Winnie the Pooh to practice, and actually the raising the larynx up worked great for doing Piglet, but aside from that, I don't think it seems quite right.
Yeah. Um,
But yeah, if I wanted to sound like a child, sure.
right. Well, raising the larynx definitely will somewhat raise just the fundamental frequency, so putting a little bit more tension on the chords, but it also changes, affects the resonance. So if it's higher up, then you have less room,
Yeah,
and then that favors more of those like bright, lighter tones versus like the bigger open space. Um, so that can help, and it could be kind of modulated, so it doesn't have to be like way up here, but just a
right.
little bit higher than where it normally sits. Um, in terms of resonance, what do you feel is something you'd like to change? Or is it like you have a good voice that you feel happy with, but then it's more the maintenance part, or you feel like you still haven't quite
Well,
found
there's the maintenance part of it, and then I guess yeah, trying to tune exactly how much resonance is right. Because I want to, I don't want it to sound too thin. I want it to be fairly full, but then I also don't want it to sound like it's easy for me to sound more masculine if it's in that position. So I guess that's the challenge for me is finding exactly where the where the right place to be is with the voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'm still trying to figure that out. Like it is even now, it's like what is happening? But
Like as you're talking, you feel like you
yeah, I was just
need.
having difficulty controlling it while I was talking to you there. So,
Yeah.
some more practice is helpful, I think, and I think especially, um, yeah, I need to get into a position where I'm doing more like conversational things,
Mm-hmm.
because that seems to be the most help at this point. Because if I'm just reading books out loud, then I feel like I'm dead on. I feel like it's really easy. But when I'm having to think about a conversation and what I'm saying, then that becomes a much more difficult issue.
Um, do you feel like with maybe like shorter responses, you can kind of keep it where you want it to be?
Yeah, maybe. I think, yeah, as you know, as I get a couple sentences in, then it gets to be more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And then I feel like a tiredness in my throat, or kind of a graveliness
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes is hard to overcome.
Mm-hmm. Um, I think the thyroid tilt could be helpful with that, just as kind of a reset when you get into that more gravelly state, like the mm-hmm,
Okay.
mm-hmm. And because that sometimes will, in other contexts, I'll have patients do that if they get into this more like fry low place,
Right. Yeah.
which can happen when you're tired, like physically, or your voice is tired. You tend to kind of like sink into this more monotonous, lower tone, and that helps reset the
Mm-hmm.
forward resonance, but
Mm.
also gives you that the little pitch up to help reset. And
Mm-hmm.
same thing as like the whimper,
Right.
which you use when you're just practicing, but in conversation, harder to.
Yeah. Well, I find if I swallow, then it brings it up. Then it's like easy to find that reset point.
Mm-hmm. Yep, the swallow. Um, yeah, or yeah, I've had a patient tell me that she thinks about like panting like a big dog and then panting like a small dog. So, and the small, so the small dog too, I think also helps because
Yeah, the small resonance. Yeah.
it gives you that lip spread as well.
Uh-huh.
Um, so that could be, I think it's trying to find those like mental tricks, whether it's like thinking about the panting or swallowing or like things that you can do as you're talking to help reset yourself. And then there's also like the other piece of self monitoring, which can be hard
Right. Yeah.
once you get into a more like get into your thoughts or kind of more elaborating on ideas to monitor at the same time. Um,
Yeah. I guess that's why I feel like I need to just practice until it's until it's first nature. Really, like I don't have to even think about it anymore.
yeah, yeah. And I don't know like if that's a if that's a point you can I don't know if it's a point you can reach where you
Yeah.
literally not think about it at all. Um, I've had maybe one person tell me that in the
Yeah.
therapy. Like, oh, it's hard for me to even like I have to try to get into my old voice.
Yeah, I've heard that from people. These people have been worked really hard on it too.
Yeah. Um, but it's also, I mean, that patient that I'm thinking about is, I don't know if that matters, but it was like a teenager. So I don't know if it's
Okay.
also just like there's less to undo, I guess, like
I don't
less
know.
time of, I mean, teenager, they had definitely like gone through puberty, like had the voice
Yeah,
change.
sure.
Um, but but that was the one that just happened like really quickly. But then there's other people that it just takes like years to get to that point where there's no thought behind it. So I think it's quite variable. Um, but I think the good thing is that where you are without any thought is still you know, it's not like the ideal where you want to be, but it's not that far, I
Yeah,
guess.
no, you're right. It's not that far, and it's a lot better than how it was.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I'm,
Like if
I'm
I
happy
was
about
just,
that.
as we're talking now, listening, I mean, I don't know what your experience has been since the procedure, if with new people or in, instances of like how often you're gendered correctly now versus before, if you see a difference in that.
It's definitely been improved. I was really actually soon after surgery too. I was really squeaky, so I think maybe that was easier. But um, overall, yeah, it's definitely improved.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've only been misgendered on the phone once since then, which is nice.
Okay. Yeah, that is good. Um, okay. Well, maybe we could try to do some practice, conversational practice today. Um, and I can just ask you questions and you can answer them.
Okay.
um, and try to, stay in where you want to be. And maybe you could try kind of focusing on one thing at a time. Like, okay, for this, I'm really gonna like, use like thyroid tilt to reset by saying or like kind of before you answer, um, like a thoughtful, interlude or filler word.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then we could kind of switch and like, okay, I'm really just gonna think about that more like flat mouth position, and that's the only thing I'm really gonna focus on. And see like, okay, does this feel easier cognitively than thinking about my larynx position or something else? So we can sort of like try them on one by one, maybe.
Okay.
To see, because sometimes it can be a lot to think about all of them at the same time. Because I think the goal is really like to get to the voice that you like with the minimal amount of cognitive load, right?
Okay.
Um, okay, so which one should we do first? Let's do the like lip spread, and we'll start from there. So as we're talking, just kind of thinking about that more like flat position. I love that pant. That's such a great. Okay. Okay. I have to think of what to ask you. I haven't asked you already. I will ask you, what did you eat for breakfast this morning?
uh, I had a couple of oranges and 3 eggs and toast.
Okay.
Sort of my lunch breakfast because I don't eat breakfast.
Like a brunch.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, okay, good. Are you a coffee drinker?
I used to be, but hardly ever anymore. I now drink tea most mornings.
Okay.
Um,
With caffeine or
Green tea. Yeah.
green? Okay, nice. Um, do you do like the loose leaf with the little container, or do you just do tea bags?
Not anymore. I used to. I haven't done that in a while. I do have some, but I just haven't used it. I need to find my tea ball.
Tea ball, yeah. um, nice. Um, what? Sorry, I'm trying to think of something where you can give me an answer that's not one word, but also not
not a
terrible
million. Like,
involved.
yeah.
Um, are you reading any books currently?
I am. I am reading one book. What was it called? Oh yeah, Keepers of the Garden by Dolores. What's her name? Dolores Cannon.
Okay. Is
So
that
yeah.
fiction or nonfiction?
Um, it's nonfiction, but it's pretty out there.
Okay.
It's about it's all stuff that was written down from deep hypnosis sessions with a client. Um, but it's sort of like it's not channeling, but it's like channeling. So it's like she's making contact with some really out there consciousnesses, and it's talking about how um, all the different kinds of life in the universe and how the Earth was seeded with life.
Oh,
So
that sounds pretty out there.
it is pretty out there. Yeah,
Are you enjoying it?
it's pretty good. Yeah, I mean it's interesting.
Okay. Um, that's cool. um, how is this feeling over?
It's feeling okay. I don't know how. It's hard for me to tell how well it's sounding sometimes when I'm actually in the middle of talking, but um,
There are times when it goes
drops down.
a little bit,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think when you have more of like, then you will sort of inflect up, yeah, it's pretty out there. And that kind of helps.
Yeah, I've also found like when I get to a certain point, then because of the way the vocal cords act now, like once I get below 150, then it gets that really gravelly,
Mm-hmm.
vocal fry sound.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm I can hear when it does that, and it's also a good trigger for me, I suppose, to you're letting your vocal cords get too loose for how they work now. And I
Mm-hmm.
think maybe with time that'll be easier to get, but I do forget a lot of times when I'm on a more extended conversation, because that's
Mm-hmm.
the way they always used to work.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think just trying to, I mean, I don't know what's a good way to do that, but trying to incorporate variation
Yeah.
continuously when you talk. Because once you do, once there is, and that happens to a lot of people where it's like, and now I'm really, really in the zone telling you about this thing, and then I'm done here. And then I sort of get back.
Yeah. Well, I've had the spectrum analysis on a lot. Actually, just when cis women were talking, and they do that too. Like they'll go up. They vary between like 150 and 260 or something a lot. That's pretty
Mhm.
common. So, and yeah, like they'll start up really hot way up here, and then they'll go down over here. So, um,
Yeah, I think there's to some extent that's natural to have that variation, but
mhm.
it's just wanting to avoid like staying down there
Right,
for too
yeah,
long. And just yeah, the or
right,
even if you answer, you didn't say but you were like, well, like that first kind of
uh,
sound was a little bit of a pitch up, which is good. I mean, it sounds
yeah.
natural, like that's a normal way to respond.
Hmm, hmm. Yeah, I know it. I have to pretend I'm Japanese. Hmm, hmm.
And yeah,
They're
and
always doing auditory cues when somebody's talking to them.
oh, okay,
That's their culture.
okay, yeah, or like as you're, as you're in the listener role.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good time to help yourself reset as well. And it's also in general, as far as like when we're talking about I mean, it is sort of verbal, but like feminine nonverbal language tends to be very like active listening, you
Right.
know, head nodding, like I'm very interested, I guess, as opposed to, I guess men make less, but I don't know. I mean, these are like studies.
Yeah.
And again, it's like, it presents it in this very
Well,
like
men do it, but it's not as intense, I think.
yeah, yeah. I have come across very few men that are like really active listeners when you're talking. They're
Well,
like,
I've had a few bosses that were, but but it's always like they're
yeah.
just like
It's more, yeah. Well, it's
they're
interesting.
staring you down.
I read something that was like women make eye contact to, show attentiveness, and men make eye contact to establish dominance. I was like, ooh, okay. um, but I mean, there's probably some truth to that. But
Yeah, there's probably some degree.
yeah. um, yes. And so yeah, I think and
Hmm.
again helps with that forward
Yeah,
resonance that
I just did it, and it was actually a really good reset to go.
yeah. Does that feel pretty easy to do that?
Yeah, if I
To
remember.
yeah, if I remember okay. Okay.
It's easy to do.
Yes. Um,
Uh-huh.
okay, let's try. Do you have any trips planned this year? Any adventures?
Uh, there's a trip I want to do. I don't know. I'm having money problems right now, so I'm waiting for money to be available. But I'm hoping to go to Burning Man this year. I've gone for I've gone to Burning Man 11 times, and I'd actually thought I was done with it, but then COVID happened, and it made me think, well, maybe now I would want to go back, and it would probably be different, and I wasn't even sure the event would even be able to carry on. I mean, now it's pretty clear that, yeah, it will carry on, but that's something I would like to do, and
Yeah.
I have these groups that I've gone with before. I had a sort of like a mega 6 hour long Zoom meeting with one of their retreats, just talking about what they're gonna be doing this year. So I guess that would be one thing I'd love to do if it happens.
And that's like around Labor Day, right? That it happens?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I remember
the
when I
week
lived
before
in the
Labor
Bay.
Day.
I remember I lived in the Bay Area. It was like a mass exodus when I lived because like, where is everyone? Yes.
Uh huh.
um,
Yeah, it's like a different city.
yeah, yeah. Wow, 11 times. It's has it I remember when I was there and people went, it was pretty expensive. Has it gotten more so over there?
It's still pretty expensive. Yeah. I've learned how to do it for less money over the years, but yeah, it's
But
pretty
there's
expensive. And if you have the money, it's easy to spend a lot on it.
okay. But there is like a ticket you purchase.
There's a ticket you purchase, and I'm one of the things I'm supposed to do is to try to get my paperwork together with like my W-2s or whatever. Not that I have them for last year, but uh, see if I can get a low income ticket, which is a reduced rate ticket.
Okay.
There have been times in the past too where I was part of the fire conclave too, and then I got a staff ticket, which is half price.
Is that is that the people that set the thing on the man on fire?
It's the fire dancers.
Okay.
that perform right before the man burns.
Okay. Cool. I kind of want to go and see it, but I don't want to
Yeah.
commit to being there the whole
It
time. Like,
is, well,
I
it's an extreme experience.
yeah,
It is
right,
not a vacation.
right. Yes, exactly.
Like if you want to go sit on a beach or something, or just have a really leisurely time somewhere, Burning Man is not the place to do that.
Yeah, yeah. It seems like very extreme conditions. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
heavy duty dust. The dust is by far the best drug there. Uh, there's a lot of heat and cold too, because there's like a 60-degree temperature swing from hot to
right,
cold.
right. Yeah, that's the
So,
thing that really does not appeal to me. But I'm weak. I like my creature comfort. So
no, I understand. I do
yeah.
too, I think, but maybe not as much as other people, or I don't know. I'm certainly dealing with that, just trying to figure out how to get back into regular life. Like, I, I feel like I misunderstood so much about the way the world worked, and I don't know how to go now, but maybe I wasn't. Maybe I'm just being extreme on myself. I don't know.
Well, it's a process.
Yeah, it certainly is.
um, okay, so maybe Burning Man in September.
Yeah. But aside from that, no, I haven't been going anywhere. Actually, I've been avoiding going to the grocery store for milk just because gas is so expensive right now.
All right. Yes, that whole thing. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Um, can you get stuff delivered where you are? Like, or are you too kind of
I'm in the middle of nowhere.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And are you like set up on, is it your parents' property or someone?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. But do you like do you see them every day, like interact with them?
Yeah, I do see them every day, and usually works out pretty. Usually it's pretty good. I mean, we're doing therapy sessions also because they have much higher expectations of me than I think I can meet. So we'll
Are you
see.
doing it like together as a family?
Yeah,
Okay. Well, that's cool that they're open to that.
it is. No, it's good. It's really good.
Yeah.
Um, doing what I can, and
Yeah, that's good. So I think okay, so I'm noticing I think the swallow seems to be a good reset for you. I don't
yeah,
know. I mean, I assume you're doing it on purpose. Um, but I can sort of see when it's happening.
somewhat. Yeah, I mean, I can tell I'm doing it when I can tell that things are getting pulled. I feels like everything's getting pulled down at the
Mm-hmm.
swallow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, yeah, or like, I mean, yeah, I was gonna say, or you could think about
Mhm.
this, but if the swallow is something that feels easy, then that's a good one to just stick with.
Mhm.
Um, and hmm, yeah, I think I mean, there's some like up and down, but I think you're actually doing a pretty good job resetting. I could, if it would be helpful going forward, like doing conversation practice where I like cue you, like when I hear that things are, you know, you're staying down
Okay.
low,
Okay.
getting more rough, I could just kind of like,
Yeah.
just like a little,
Yeah. No, that I think that'd be good. Um,
yeah.
and I wonder if too, like maybe it is getting just the muscle strong enough too, because I feel like that's one thing that happens is like there's it's the muscles at the top of the larynx aren't quite strong enough, and I need to keep working on those just for it to be up high enough. Because if I think about it, and I'm thinking about it, then I can just look at the thing, and it's not a problem to me to be right up in the right area where I want to be. But the minute I take my eyes off of the ball, kind of, then, or, if I'm just talking about something and not reading a book, that's when it starts to get harder to keep it up.
Yeah. I mean, everything you said just now, like this whole time, you maintained it really well.
Yeah.
And you're really thinking about it. So yeah, I mean, there's the two pieces. There's the cognitive training, mental, like sustained mental effort, and then the physical. Yeah, there's the suprahyoids, which are like these muscles that help lift the larynx up, and they're the same ones that are engaged when you swallow, because when you swallow, the larynx goes up and forward to get out of the way, so no food or liquid goes down. So it's similar, definitely similar muscles. And to maintain it higher, those muscles have to be engaged. But
yeah.
I don't.
And I can already feel they're a little tired right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also, like, when you swallow, at the height of the swallow, your larynx is pretty high, so it's like you don't necessarily need to maintain it at that same height as where you are when you swallow. But I think it just helps to kind of like almost like stimulate that, like, oh, we're pulling up, like this is what it feels like.
I think you're right.
Yeah. And then just coming down a little bit from that and then staying there. Trying to think of anything else that, yeah, or like designated exercises for like strengthening those muscles. But I don't really think that's indicated. I don't think you need to like, I don't think you don't have the strength. It's just, it's more like coordinating the physical and the mental, like thinking about it and holding it there. So, yeah. And I think that, I mean, the work you're doing, like just reading, I think that's going to help, at least with that like physical training part, like keeping it up there.
Yeah, it does help, I think, just especially so I don't have enough opportunity to talk with a lot of people. So I can talk for about half an hour before I really start to get tired. So it's going to take some effort to get up above that, I think. But that's probably what I need to do to make it strong enough.
Yeah, to kind of try. And you could, maybe set like on your pitch app, like, oh my gosh, why can't I think of this? A zone where you want to be, and as you're reading, try to really focus, like staying within that zone, not falling too much.
When I am reading, it's actually really easy to do, just to stay between, say, 200 and 240. That's what I'm usually doing.
Okay. Yeah. But even like if you go, I think even like 180.
Yeah.
It's still very, I mean, that's where I am a lot of the times. But that, and then there's, there's other ways you can like sort of practice short exchanges, like calling in like for customer service, or like calling somewhere and asking like a set of, like, oh, what time do you close? Do you sell this, this, and that? Maybe if you don't even care to know the answer, but just with like having that interaction that you can do without having to go anywhere necessarily. Or I don't know if you play video games. A lot of my patients practice in those settings. Um,
Yeah. I guess I have
but
to start. No, I know everybody
I
does
don't
that
know
too,
if
but
that would be a reason to. But I know there's some that are kind of interactive, where you can
yeah.
find other people. But just trying to, yeah, or if there's anyone that you can like call and practice with that you would feel comfortable practicing with, it's a friend. I guess that's another idea.
Uh-huh.
Just trying to think of ways to get, because I do think that like dynamic conversational practice is really helpful. Yeah.
Well, it's a good impetus, I guess, to try and call my friends more.
Yeah.
Uh, they tend to be really long conversations when they happen, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, or you could sort of like, as you feel comfortable, say like, I mean, obviously it's like not the only purpose of this call, but like, oh, I'm really like, I want an opportunity to work on this, and so if you need to like, also, be focused on implementing some of these resetting strategies, and they'll be like, why are you doing this? Or like, you know, you can sort of say like, this is what you have in mind as you're engaging.
Yeah.
I don't know, sometimes that's helpful, so they're
Yeah, sure.
aware of what's going on. And maybe like they could even give you feedback if you, I don't know if you want to go that far into it, but sometimes that can be helpful too, depending on the friend.
I think I can do that.
Yeah.
Certainly there are a lot of people I haven't talked to in a long time, so maybe it's worthwhile.
Yeah, and maybe if you haven't talked to them in a long time, they can also like, it might be interesting to hear their input and how they're perceiving your voice now versus then. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's getting pretty far along. I mean, it's almost 3 months in.
Yeah.
So, in 3 days, it'll be 3 months.
Yeah.
So I think it's come a long way, for sure.
Yeah, definitely from right after surgery to now. I think the progress is steady and continuous. And now we're just kind of tweaking things.
Yeah. Well, it certainly made it a lot easier to get to a place where I'm comfortable with it. I went back and listened to one of my older videos, and it was radically different, for sure.
Yeah. And would you mind sending me, remember in the very, very beginning we started therapy, I had you send me a recording where you read that little rainbow passage?
Uh-huh.
And then you do the ooh, yeah. Could you, when you have a chance, record yourself with the same thing, just so I can have a...
Yeah. That's the same one in the app, right?
Yeah, the app, I don't know. People have trouble recording it right off of the app, but it does have...
No, it's worked for me.
Okay. Yeah, you can do it on the app.
Unless there's something else you want me to do. I can't remember. I can look up your emails, too, and see if it's in there.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you can do it through the app or just record it on your phone and send it to me. But I'll just send you an email with that.
Okay.
So you don't have to search through your old emails.
Sure.
Okay. And then maybe we could plan for next time doing more conversation, and this time I'll like really kind of cue you as you're falling out of it.
Okay.
If you can kind of continuously reset during the conversation.
Yeah, I think that's good.
How that feels.
May you be well. May you be blessed. May you be filled with unconditional love for all beings. May you be truly at peace. May all beings be at peace. May you feel unconditional love for all beings. May you feel unconditional love from all beings. I love you. Aloha.